Since I was 16 years old, I have been a strong believer in the doctrines given to the world by Emanuel Swedenborg. It was his mission to teach men to listen to the inward voice, rather than to opinions and disputations. After many years of reverent study of the Bible, I gratefully wonder if I am not more indebted to Swedenborg for the faith that turns my darkness to light than I have yet realized. Hi, I'm Sage Cole, and I'm the pastor here at Swedenborg Chapel in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I want to invite you to be a part of a new mission. We are endeavoring to build here the Helen Keller Spiritual Life Center, a space where we can share the spiritual legacy of Helen Keller. Blind and deaf, Helen Keller inspired the world with her ability to reach out, learn, and flourish in a way that most believed impossible in her time. She then went on to dedicate her life to working to break down the barriers that kept others from flourishing in the same way. Helen Keller is a woman for our time. The issues she cared about, like economic justice. In a publication in Home Magazine in 1935, she writes, "The test of a democracy is not the magnificence of buildings or the speed of automobiles, or the efficiency of air transportation, but rather the care given to the welfare of all." Peace. Speaking to wounded soldiers in 1921, Helen said, "Let us all unite then, and insist that America disarm now. Now is the time for the great task of all true Christians to inspire the masses with a definite faith in peace and goodwill." Disability rights. Helen's whole life, of course, was a testament to the importance of supporting people with disabilities, to be fully included in society. She said in a speech in 1925, "The chief handicap of the blind is not blindness, but the attitude of seeing people towards them." Women's rights. Helen wrote often in support of women's suffrage, and in 1913 wrote an article, "Why Men Need Women's Suffrage." In it she writes, "Women have discovered that they cannot rely on men's chivalry to give them justice." Helen's Southern roots also did not stop her from seeing through the ills of racism. She writes in a letter to W.E.B. Du Bois, the head of the NAACP, in 1916, "Let us hurl our strength against the iron gates of prejudice until they fall, and their bars are sundered, and we all advance gladly towards our common heritage of life, liberty, and light, undivided by race or color or creed, united by the same human heart that beats in the bosom of all." And care for the creation. Helen spoke in South Africa in 1951 these words, "Reverence for the beauty and preciousness of earth, and a sense of responsibility to do all we can to make it a habitation of health and plenty for all people." These 6 areas of advocacy that Helen worked for throughout her life, economic justice, peace, disability rights, anti-racism, women's rights, and creation care, remain vital in the world today and at the forefront of our thinking. The Helen Keller Spiritual Life Center will seek to continue to work for the better world that Helen envisioned was possible. Helen also was a woman who understood and lived out the inextricable link between faith and justice. She writes, "Power, not comfort, is my demand upon faith. Living with faith is discomforting to the last degree. It does not offer an escape from life and its evils, but it gives a more abundant life, despite all obstacles and hardships. Faith, rightly understood, is active, not passive. Passive faith is no more a force than is in an eye that does not look or search out. Active faith knows no fear. It denies that God has betrayed his creatures and given the world over to darkness. It denies that men are to be judged after the appearance of race, color, and opinion, instead of according to the law of life. It denies that society in which good will shall replace hate and intelligent cooperation supplant armed force is unattainable. It denies despair. Defeat is simply a signal to press onward. Reinforced by faith, the weakest mortal is mightier than disaster. The God within braces him against the universe. His soul is whole and equal in any emergency. Situated in the heart of Harvard Square, next to the most esteemed university in the world, we are perfectly poised to boldly share Helen's story and the role her faith played in it with the larger world. Helen Keller's remarkable life has long been entwined with the life of Swedenborg Chapel in Cambridge. She was a student in Cambridge during the same years that the chapel was being constructed and graduated from Radcliffe College in 1904, only 3 years after the chapel's completion. It is reported in her biography that while Helen enjoyed her time at college, she thought that students' schedules were too hectic and didn't allow time to sit and think. She wrote that we should take our education as we would take a walk in the country, leisurely, our minds hospitably open to impressions of every sort. We envisioned that this spiritual life center would be such a place to sit and think, to be inspired by Helen's life, to focus on the spiritual dimension of living, and contemplate its importance in shaping and framing our work in the world. Much has already been accomplished in our work to develop the Helen Keller Spiritual Life Center. With the help of Mark Carriega, architect and member at Swedenborg Chapel, we completed a building study to determine what could be built at this property to house the Helen Keller Spiritual Life Center. From Mark Carriega's final report, the new annex is fully accessible, and through its architecture and spatial organization, the design seeks to provide an inclusive environment where everyone will feel welcome. Distinct from, yet complementary to the chapel, the new annex supplements the chapel in terms of access and facilities. While maintaining the chapel's prominence on the corner of Quincy and Kirkland Streets, the new annex offers a strong visual presence for the Helen Keller Spiritual Life Center, announcing a new chapter in the life of Swedenborg Chapel, on this busy corner of Cambridge in the midst of campus life at Harvard. At the center, we will share the story of Helen's spiritual awakening and how she lived her Swedenborgian faith through exhibits and multisensory displays. We will maintain a reference library while also offering access to online research, and we will be a distribution center for the Swedenborg Foundation. We will display historical materials related to Helen's Swedenborgian faith. We will bring Helen's Swedenborgian theology into conversation with other disability theologies, an area of study that has grown over the last 20 years, through lectures, classes, and conferences in collaboration with the Center for Swedenborgian Studies and other educational institutions that wish to partner with us.
So what do you think? Do you want to join us on this adventure? Whether you're able to give financially, support us with programming ideas and thoughts, or just help us to share the word, share the message of this new vision, we want you to be our partners. We want to bring in as many partners as possible to show our support for one another, so that this can be a mission for all of us.
Having never herself become a member of any particular branch of the Swedenborgian Church, we feel it's vital that this center be one that lifts up the Swedenborgian movement as a whole, all people who live by the faith of the new church and who support its work in the world. Our prayer and hope is that we will raise the funds necessary by June 2020 to begin design and permitting, with the hope of breaking ground in June 2021. We can do this with your help. Visit www.hkslc.org to find out more about how you can support the center, become a partner, and learn how things are going as we move forward. From Helen Keller's introduction to the Everyman's edition of the True Christian Religion.
Swedenborg's message has meant so much to me. It has given color and reality and unity to my thought of the life to come. It has exalted my ideas of love, truth, and usefulness. It has been my strongest incitement to overcome limitations. Were I but capable of interpreting to others one half of the stimulating thoughts and noble sentiments that are buried in Swedenborg's writings, I should help them more than I am ever likely to in any other way. It would be such a joy to me if I might be the instrument of bringing Swedenborg to a world that is spiritually deaf and blind. Let's help to bring Helen's wish to life. Let's help her to be an instrument to bring the teachings of the church to the world, and also to lift up Helen's incredible life, to help us think about the intersections between faith and justice, and to help us live our faith boldly into the world.